All right, all right. Hello, everybody. Hi, Francesca. Great to have you again.
I
Thanks for joining. When's the last time you and I were together answering those questions?
It feels like a long time.
Long time ago, huh? Yeah, like a couple of months, I think. So, this is going to be a very special campfire. Francesca and I are both from Nucamp. Well, you probably guessed that already. Francesca, I mean, tell us about what do you do at Nucamp?
I'm an advisor, so I help prospective students, current students. I help everyone.
That's right. The helper and pretty much helping them make decisions and answering their questions. And so this is today is an open house, meaning we're gonna really answer any question you may have about new camp, about joining a conic boot camp, or programs, what's going on in the industry. I actually want to spend a bit of time about, there's some recession fears going on, some news about companies rescinding offers or freezing their hiring. I want to address that a little bit. So we're going to talk about that, especially because, and you'll see, it's actually not the way you think it is. Most people will think it's an issue, and actually, it's a great opportunity when you think of it. So I'll share a little bit about that. Um, if you're new to the show, and I know most of you are not, you know that we are streaming live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Meta, I should say now, and on YouTube. And I think most people are watching on YouTube. Code Thing, I see you. Welcome back. And so you can ask your questions on any of those platforms in the chat window. Francesca and I are seeing it here. We'll be able to answer them. You can also decide to join us live using this link, url.nucamp.co/dialin. And if you click on that link and you're either on your desktop or laptop or even your phone, as long as you have your microphone and camera on, you're going to be able to join Francesca and myself here live and just have a conversation with us. So it's always quite fun to do that. Think of it as, anyone wanting to dial into their local radio and be on the show. So you get to do that and be live on YouTube and all these other platforms. So we're going to get started. Um, there we go. We have a first question from John Alvarez. That's a great question. Will you have in-person classes anytime soon in Santa Clarita? Thanks. And the answer is, unfortunately, probably not. It's we had in-person classes and classrooms before the pandemic, before COVID. We used to have our Saturday workshops in person in about 30 cities, which was pretty cool. And with COVID, we had to move all of that online, as you know, and Saturday workshops were online. And it's pretty tough and challenging to go back to in person. Uh, Although I would really love to be able to do that. The reason is for the last 2 years, we've built and evolved our business around being online. And we've actually invested a ton of effort and energy in making it work for a fully online experience. And so for us now to bring it back to an in-person component, uh, it's actually pretty tough. So it's not going to happen soon, but hopefully it will happen in the future because we still very much believe in it. We believe in really creating those local connections, giving a chance for students to meet one another. And that actually may not have to be lost. So for example, if you register in a city, you will be grouped with other students from that city. We may actually assign an instructor from that city as well. And so even though we may not offer in-person workshops, there actually may not be anything preventing you from, saying, hey, team, anyone wants to meet at the next coffee shop or the nearest coffee shop? And so that's something that's possible. So for Santa Clarita, actually, do we have a location there? Let me check. Santa. Yeah, so register there, John. If you register in Santa Clarita and others register in Santa Clarita, you'll be grouped together. And so you can decide to actually do something at the nearest Starbucks. Do you see that question coming often, Francesca? People really wanting to be in person?
Not so much now. Yeah, not so much. But you get to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah, go for it.
No, you get the question here and there, but not as much now.
Yeah. Um, I think there was a survey that we did a while ago, and it's about 30% of students who really, really want an in-person experience. So it's a significant number. It's not the majority, but it's still, it's a decent number. Gotcha. Well, we hope to see you, John. We hope to see you, John, in our boot camps. And as I said, maybe you'll have actually an opportunity to meet with other students from the San Fernando Valley as well. There's a lot of people also with the gas prices that are like, yeah, we love in person, but I don't know. I mean, do I really want to commute and add those extra mileage? That's always an issue. So here's one reason why we're doing an open house today, and it's the early bird price that's ending on Monday. Francesca, do you want to explain a little bit what the early bird is about and what happens once you passed that date?
Well, once you pass that date, there is no longer a discount. The price does go up a little higher, so it is great to make the early bird date. It's normally 14 days before the class start date.
That's right. And so let me actually share my screen. I want to share with you when I was just looking at Santa Clarita. Oh, that is truncated for me because I have a special thing. So let me actually do this. Boom. And boom. Come on. Maybe I should not have done that. There we go. So we're in Santa Clarita here. And then the bootcamp that has the early bird ending on Monday is the full stack bootcamp. Oh, and I'm sorry, I see a question from Kothin here. Yes, I will actually give additional clues if you want to the job hunting jam. I will actually do that. That'll be fun. I think we had 4 or 5 winners so far, and they've all been informed. But yeah, I think the riddle is actually not that straightforward. So going back to the early bird price, we're talking about the full stack bootcamp starting on August 8th. This one. And so if you're in Santa Clarita, John, and you go here, you'll see that if you register before the 25th, which is Monday, this coming Monday, before midnight Central Time, you'll pay that price. If you register after that day for that bootcamp, you'll pay that price. So that's kind of an important date to keep in mind. We do send reminders as well. So if you worry about missing it, you can always wait for that reminder, and we'll remind you of it. To get a reminder, you just click the "I'm interested" button. You give us your name and email, and we'll send you that reminder. We have Jesse here. Yes, so it's a very good point. And the thing is, even though it's not in person, Jesse, the Saturday workshop, the morning, that session is live online, and it's a real classroom environment if you want. So it's not you watching videos. It's very much you with your classmates. So maximum 15 students in the class with your instructor going through the curriculum. But I hear you. I mean, it's not in person. The thing about in person as well is oftentimes it requires you to be full time. So I don't know about your situation, Jesse. If you're ready to be full time for an in-person experience, for sure, it's a great experience to be in person full time. It's not necessarily available to everyone. If you already have a job, that may be tricky. So, I mean, Yeah, I love in person as well. It's not just all videos, so maybe that's going to help you make a decision here. You do have that moment on Saturdays to actually engage with others, chat, be in a breakout room, and we actually also encourage you to work with your students during the week. So I hope that helps. What are you hearing from prospects for Francesca? People that are wondering about Nucamp. What's the latest since we last talked? What are the top questions that they bring up to you?
Mm, not really the in person. It's
And you need to be very close actually to your
oh
mic. It's
sorry.
kind of weird. Yeah,
A lot of it has to do with the job hunting or which path is going to make the most money.
yeah,
Um, should they take the web fundamentals first? Get a lot of those.
yeah. Which I had a conversation recently with someone regarding which path or which bootcamp is going to lead to the better job and the better compensation. Um, there is something about DevOps and the Python bootcamp. I will say that's it's not the most sexy job in my mind, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a back-end job, right? So either you like back-end or you don't, but
Mhm.
back-end is very much, you're 100% in your code. You don't work on the UI. You could work on code that could actually be quite boring. Like DevOps code could be quite boring in my opinion. Deploying stuff, making sure that you have cron jobs running, and building containers and Dockers. That's not the funnest part of development for me. But what's interesting about this position, backend DevOps, that's actually one area where there's probably more opportunities to get started, because everyone wants to be a full stack developer, and everyone will actually a majority of people will actually go through that program, and there's absolutely nothing wrong, because I mean, for me as well, that's the better position in a way, in terms of how much fun you're going to have, how much more you can do as well. When you're a full stack, you can do everything.
Yeah.
But that leaves behind a ton of opportunities that people actually don't necessarily want to go into, and that's the back end. It's also oftentimes connected to QA engineering, because QA engineering is a lot of back end code, and so I would say back end actually could have more short-term opportunities to get into the industry, could be not the most fun ones, but yeah, I mean, that would be my take on it. And then, of course, the better way to do it is to do everything. It's to do web dev, backend, then full stack. Pretty much what we have in our complete software engineering path. Uh, that would actually allow you to apply to any type of jobs that are either 100% backend, DevOps, very heavy on the cloud deployment. You'll be able to do that, or very much more on the web development side, full stack side. So yeah, and I'm seeing a ton of people actually opting to register for that complete path, really wanting to do everything. And do you see a lot of people really thinking about that as well?
Yes, but I also say that the more skills that you know, then the more you can provide to a company. So why not just take everything and learn everything?
That's right. That's right. We have Kothin asking a question here. Is it harder to become a full stack if backend as your first junior developer job than front end? I'm not sure I'm following. I think you probably did some mistyping here, Kothin. If you want, rephrase it. Is it harder to become a full stack if backend? No, I don't know. Please rephrase your question, Kothin, and I'll try to give it a go. So there was actually a question about the job hunting jams, the small contest that we're running. Still open. We haven't really given away yet um, all the 10 seats, for good reason. It's not that easy to actually do. So let me actually take the time to give an additional clue. It was requested.
Yeah.
So just to find it, you're going to go to job hunting. then you're going to go to the job hunting gem contest. All 3 clues are available. The first clue tells you which string to look at. And so the first clue here will tell you exactly what kind of string you need to put here and what kind of string you need to put here. So if you actually do that, if you copy and paste the right string, and those strings are on our website, by the way. So if you copy and paste in string 1 and then copy and paste in string 2 and then run the code. So let me do this. This is my string. That's obviously not the right string here. But if you listen to the video, clue number 1, you'll have it. If you, that's going to tell you something here. That's going to be part of the puzzle, part of the answer of the puzzle. And then when you get here, let me see if it works. Yeah. I'm actually using my keyboard. And like you can tell, my keyboard is telling me exactly what keys I'm pressing. So this is about pressing keys on this page. And which keys to press is in that clue number 3 riddle. I'll tell you that it's a gamer reference. And it's actually a gamer that's probably older than this current generation of gamers. So watch the clue, watch the video, listen to the end of it. And the reference is a gaming reference, and it's probably a gaming reference that an older generation will actually immediately catch. And so that will tell you exactly the sequence of keys that you need to type. And from there will be a reveal that will actually tell you what to do next. I hope that helped.
That was a big clue.
Oh, see who's here. Okay, we have Drew here. All right, so there you go. Is it harder to get a full stack or backend than a front-end position as your first junior developer job? I think it's probably easier to get a full stack or backend than a front-end position. And the reason for me is front-end position is narrower in terms of scope and really requires you to have extremely good UI UX skills. So the person who's going to really go after a pure front-end position and the employers that are really requesting a pure front-end position, they're doing that because they want exceptional UI UX skills. And oftentimes you're not going to get those UI UX skills at the exceptional level straight off the bat, right? Now, if the employer is asking just for a front-end position, but they have designers producing the UI, then it's fine. But you see, that's all of a sudden that has to be complicated because now you're looking for positions that are front-end and do not require you to have great UI UX skills, which makes it even narrower. And so that's why going for full stack or backend, you're really broaden the scope of possibilities and jobs when front end is going to be narrower in my mind and higher expectations in terms of what you're going to be able to produce. So yeah, I hope that helps. What do you want to do next, Code? Are you looking for full stack, backend, or front end? That would be my question.
I have a question, Ludo. So
Yeah.
does location also take a factor in that as well? Like where you're located?
I think the factor regarding location is very much what type of jobs they offer. I think you're right. If you're in your city or state, You draw a circle and you're willing to drive, I'll say 50 miles back and forth. Maybe not, that's a lot already. Um, but you do that search, you search for those positions and you have a majority of them being front end, then there you go. You probably want to specialize in that.
Mm,
Uh, and I think it's a great point, Francesca, to bring up location, because even though there's a lot more remote jobs available, it's harder as a junior developer to get a remote job.
okay.
And so you do want to start locally still. Anyone is trying to do the job hunting challenge right now? I'll be curious if they're trying and actually succeeding. Let's talk about the job hunting a little bit, Francesca. You mentioned that you have people asking questions about it?
Yeah, as far as which like she was saying as well, which path to take, which makes the most money. But I feel like that definitely varies, and it's a lot of factors that goes into that as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the job hunting one is it's actually open to everyone. So that's something that people may not realize is this boot camp. It's 4 weeks long, so it's a short duration, and it's very much open to anyone who already has coding skills. So we're not going to teach you coding in that one, right? That's not the point. The point is, now that you have those coding skills, how are you going to prep for interviews? And so you could have acquired those coding skills with Nucamp, or
Mm.
you could have acquired those coding skills with another coding bootcamp, and that's fine as well. Or you could have just graduated from computer science, uh, or none of that, none of the above. You're self-taught. You've actually learned to code on your own for the last, I don't know, 12 months, 2 years, and you need an extra help. That's what this job bootcamp, this job hunting bootcamp is for. It's for all those folks who have those skills but are feeling the challenge of landing a job. So, and
Do
so
they
I
get?
want to talk. Yeah,
Oh,
go for it.
I was gonna ask for them. So, do they get like a career coach after, or do they get a career coach? Is it more of like a just an instructor, like one instructor?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So this experience is with a dedicated instructor with 15 students. So that's a very different from. So, for example, if you graduate from full stack or back end or front end, you'll have a career coach, and you meet with your coach, for 30 minutes. Oftentimes, it's going to be once a week. So that's not that, and that doesn't replace the career coach that full stack graduates or back end graduates are going to get. This is all our boot camps. It's with an instructor who's in the field, who's a hiring manager, who has had tons of experience at interviewing or being interviewed. And really, that instructor is with you for 4 weeks, really teaching you all the ropes in terms of, presenting yourself, doing mock interviews. The workshop session on Saturday is actually you doing mock-up interviews, you doing, algorithm tests and things like that. So that's the difference between those two.
Okay.
Yeah, Catherine. So yeah, front end is a tough one because it's not enough to be good at coding and not enough to like it. If you don't have that, artistic nature, and I don't have it myself, for example, like the website, this one that we're looking at right now, I didn't design this. I could not design this, right? I coded it, I coded it, but I could not have designed that, and it could be frustrating if you want to be a front end developer and to really build those skills to all of a sudden be kind of limited because you're not that, you don't have that artistic vibe. And it doesn't have to be the end of it. It just means that you're going to have to be paired with a designer, and there's a ton of companies that do that again, right? So it's not necessarily all the time limiting, but it does limit a little bit. And I will say give backend a go. If front end is limiting to you for that, give it a try and see if you like it. I'll be curious. I can't remember. I know you're a student of ours, and I know you've actually participated in videos, and actually interviewed you. I can't remember if you did a full stack or just a front end.
I did
But if you
front
did
end.
full stack, you probably, got a good idea of what the backend is about and if you're going to like it.
Yeah, the back end was not really for me. I like the front ends. I'm more like the creative into design. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. So.
Yeah. So yeah. And by doing full stack, all of a sudden, you know exactly what you prefer, right? You know if you're going to like front end, you know if you're going
Mhm.
to like the backend or not. So speaking of, I want to go back to the job hunting because I want to talk about something that's on the mind a lot of people. And that something is in the headlines right now are a ton of fear of recession. In the headlines, if you're looking for joining a coding bootcamp right now, you're going to see that some people that have had their tech jobs offer rescinded even before they started. In the headlines last week or this week, you're going to read that Google and Microsoft and Facebook are putting their a hiring freeze on tech jobs. And so that could be scary, right? So if you type in hiring freeze in tech, you're going to see all of this. Why are tech company freeze hiring? Microsoft and Google 3 days ago are hitting the brakes on hiring. It sends the wrong signal for someone who's actually just starting to aspire to join the tech industry. And and it could actually make someone, double guess themselves and what they want to do and should actually make the investment. And the answer is, contrary to how you will think about those news, this is absolutely the best time to actually start and join the coding bootcamp. And it's counterintuitive, but here's the thing: Microsoft, Google, and all those tech companies that are hitting the brakes on hiring, it's not because they don't need those people. They still need those employees. They're just pausing the hiring. What that means is those jobs are now waiting for you to be ready in 6 to 9 months.
Mm.
This is the time where if you thought you were going to have competition now and you're like, okay, if I if I start to learn the coding bootcamp, if I start to join Nucamp and or any coding bootcamp now, will I have a job in 6 to 9 months? Well, that's the moment in time where those positions are going to be back open again. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be a frenzy of hiring, let's say 9 to 12 months. And all those companies that, you know, hit the brake, all of a sudden they're going to be asking and looking for twice as many developers or backend engineers. And so if you're not ready in 9 to 12 months, you're going to miss that big wave. So you actually want to enroll now, build those skills, go through the curriculum, build your portfolio, start to practice, and then I'm guarantee in 6, 9, 12 months, when all the recession fears and maybe actually the recession will have happened and things will actually start to get better, you're going to be in the best spot to actually get that position. And there's going to be less competition, there's going to be more demand. So this is actually the perfect timing for anyone to actually join a bootcamp. Um, there's another thing as well to think about, which is, okay, you're actually in the bootcamp now. You are about to graduate. Now, what does that mean for you? And again, it could be easy to stop at the headlines, right? The headlines is, oh my God, these are freezing their job hiring. Well, first, as a coding bootcamp graduate, you actually never really aimed, or you should not have never really aimed to get your first job as a full-blown engineer at Facebook, Meta, or Google. It's possible, but it always will have been tougher than just getting a job in your local market at the local tech companies or brick and mortar companies, the IT department that are continuing to hire. And what actually confirms that is if you actually go further and look at the job market, from May, and actually read the data, what they're saying is the number of jobs decreased by 6.9%. So the number of jobs decreased by 400, almost 500,000. The jobs impacted were professional and business services, not engineering, 325,000. Manufacturing, 138,000 and 70,000. So manufacturing, and anyone in manufacturing probably actually is already thinking about, their next move. But the jobs impacted were not necessarily engineering. Like it's not big enough to be listed here. Now, read the next lines. Number of hires. Okay, so number of jobs has decreased, but how many people got hired in the same timeline? 6.5 million people were hired during that same time. So there's a fixation of the press, of anyone really looking at the headlines thinking, oh my God, those jobs are gone. It's absolutely not true. It's only headline. You have to read beyond the headline. There's a huge amount of jobs and people are hiring in tech, even if Microsoft, Google are placing a hiring freeze. So don't get discouraged by those headlines. Don't believe, I would say, the fear, doubt, and uncertainty around a headline, a clickbait, making you believe that there's no more tech jobs in the industry. It's absolutely not true. A ton of people are continuing to hire, and you should not really stop in your tracks because you're wondering if it's going to be available for you. It definitely, totally will be.
So they definitely should not wait to the last minute. They should start now and get ready.
Yeah, because it takes a while to build those skills, and so if those headlines are scaring you today and preventing you from making that move, 6 months, 9 months from now, you're going to regret it. You're going to be like, damn, I could have been ready. Those jobs are all coming back. Those freezes are lifted and I don't have the skills. So yeah, I love to hear what you guys think about this point of view. I mean, that's my perspective. That's how I think about it. That's also how, recessions have been working all the time we've had one. There's a dip and then it goes back up. And when it goes back up, it goes really very strongly back up.
I think we had a question.
Yeah, Rogelio. So let's take that question here. Is the web development, web fundamentals course required to start with a backend bootcamp? You want to take that one, Francesca?
I would say that if you have no experience in coding or any coding knowledge, like little to none, then I would definitely recommend it because the backend is pretty advanced. So it's going to go right into the Python fundamentals. And if you don't really know some of the basics, or even some of the JavaScript, you could get stuck.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's not, technically required. Like you don't have to do it, but yeah, we always encourage students who join us to never really pick us as their very first step, right? You should always make the effort of, learning a little bit on, doing the fundamentals a little bit. Like you want to dabble in code for like, 3 months. And maybe 3 months is a long time, but you want to dip your toes quite a bit in coding before joining a coding bootcamp. And so, yeah, web fundamentals is not required, but very much recommended if you have no coding knowledge before. We have Manny Flores here. Yes, nice. So are you right now, Manny, are you in web development fundamentals, I'm guessing? Please let us know. Love to know how it goes, how it's going. It's funny, Facebook doesn't show us the name of the users anymore. Just signed up 2 days ago. Yeah, that's awesome. Starting on the 25th with the web development fundamentals. That's
So
great.
keep in mind on Monday, on the 25th, you're going to get an email the morning of, anywhere from like 8 to 12 p.m. your time. That's going to have the enrollment key code that you're going to use to register. And it'll have all the instructions so that you can access your lessons.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. And I know many folks are pinging us, on Monday, like, hey, I haven't gotten my email just yet. And like, yeah, it's coming. Don't worry. Like, yeah. Yeah, very good point. And it's going to be a code that's going to give you access to the learning environment and Slack and all that. So you'll join the community. Manny just finished last week. Awesome. How was the smiley game? Were you able to make it work? I know that's always a fun one, right? You remember that one, Francesca?
Yeah, it was a little hard for me. That one was a little tricky to me.
That one I've always found fascinating. For those of you who don't know that 4-week bootcamp, the very last week we actually have you build a game, and it's find the missing smiley, and it's a game that's purely in JavaScript. You're manipulating the DOM. I mean, you're doing pretty advanced stuff, right? And first, it's quite encouraging, to realize that, hey, you're actually manipulating the DOM, and it's working. But what I find amazing is that game is pretty advanced, and yet the amount of lines of code that is required to run it is super small. Like it's like half a page of code, and you're able to run a game like that, right? That has always fascinated me. Like that little amount of code can actually run a game like this one. So I don't know what you think, Manny, if you enjoyed that one as well.
Hey, Drew, we see you.
Yeah,
he's in the chat.
Drew is hiding again. He's gonna come back on this campfire. I'm telling you. He's not hiding. He's here. He's with us. Peter Fang has a question. You want to take that one? Yeah.
So would you say if you can pass the quizzes and complete the coding assignments, you will have a fairly good chance of getting hired? I believe that that's only part of it. I mean, yes, we do want you to get like 85% or more. But also, try to do as many projects as possible, network in the Slack channel with other students and alumni, and do some personal research as well. Definitely on LinkedIn, definitely do some personal research.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. And the concept of fairly good chance of getting hired is everybody has a fairly good chance of getting hired, I will say. But you're right, and this is also one of the reasons why we have thought about that job hunting bootcamp is learning the skills is step one. And your description is very much, hey, I've learned the skills, like check, I've learned those skills. Applying those skills, step two. Applying means, okay, now go outside, the curriculum, go outside what you've learned with the bootcamp, find a project, and realize how much more you learn through that. Step two. Step three, the job hunt. Step three is, okay, network, prepare yourself, learn a little bit more of data algorithm and data structure and algorithms. That's step three. So I'll say, Peter, what you're describing here is step one, learning those skills. You got to do step two, applying them, and then step three, preparing yourself for the job hunt, and using all the techniques and the tools. Yeah, Krista, hated those slides. 80 those smiles. Yeah. We've had, and I think we have that in the course, like there is the vanilla smiley game, right, that we ask students to build. And then I think we've published as well what students have done above and beyond, which takes that game to a whole another level. It's not a smiley anymore. It's like there's animation, there's sound. We
Bro,
should
oh
probably
wow.
like showcase some of that, but it's pretty fun. I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone actually try to make one of those. Yeah, I felt like they were laughing at you. Yeah. Oh wow, that's awesome. So
Hello.
that Facebook user that Facebook doesn't tell us very much is coming from Republic of Palau. Wow, that reminds me of a game, Battlefield. I think the very first Battlefield was in this area. I'm guessing. Well, welcome. That's really great to have you. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to remind everyone, and please ask your questions. Don't hesitate to click that link, by the way, if you want to join Francesca and I. Here's the link, url.nucamp.co/dial-in. If you want to discuss with us, ask your question about Nucamp or we just shared, the job hunting bootcamp. If you want to talk about, job prospects in the industry, what does it mean for Facebook and Microsoft and Google to put the brakes on their hiring? And as I said, it doesn't mean actually means opportunity for anyone starting now. So don't hesitate to join us, have a conversation. But what I want you to make sure everyone realize is this Monday at midnight Central, anyone wanting to join the August 8th full stack bootcamp will actually start to pay a little bit more for that one. So if you want to register for the August 8th full stack bootcamp, you want to do it before Monday, 12 p.m. because after that it's going to cost another 388. No, not sorry, not. I mean, it's going to cost another $300 pretty much. It'll go from 2,328 to 2,688. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about joining the full stack bootcamp on August 8th. Do it before Monday, or even do it now. Like, don't even wait Monday. Do it now. Okay, I think we have more questions. That one's for you, Francesca.
Oh, thank you for I wish I felt like that.
Yeah. All right, so please ask us your questions, Francesca and I. We're here for that. What can we talk about, Francesca, as we wait for those questions? What do you hear? What are some of the fears or the concerns that you hear from people
Um,
talking to you?
I would say some people assume that, as soon as you graduate, you're going to immediately get a job. Now, I know that we have the percentage on the website with the 3, the 6, the 9 months. Now,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to the students as far as like having hope that, when they do graduate, probably within 3 to 6 months, they can also get a
Yeah.
position?
So I'll say you have to have the right expectations, and for a very rare number of students. So let me actually talk about the two extremes. I'll say, and I'll just throw a random number, but that's probably right. 1% of students get a job while they're just finishing the bootcamp, or let's say 0.5%. Right? That's extraordinary. It does happen. When we have a graduation, quite often we have someone say, "Hey, I got a job before the graduation." Let's say 1%. A vast majority of students are going to get a job within the 6 to 9 months. The people who get it within 3 months, an exception as well, right? It's pretty rare. Now, you have intermediate positions that could actually accelerate that. Like, you could get into an apprenticeship, and we do actually have connections with multiple apprenticeship, and so that could make it faster or easier. Oftentimes, an apprenticeship also has a lower pay, but it's a great next step if you want to get to the next. You're going to do 1 year, 2 year, then you're going to be a senior, and you're going to, you're going to make all the you're going to have a fantastic job, all the right money. But yeah, I think there's something about, and I think that's what I don't like in the coding bootcamp industry and the education at large, in a way, is that notion of everybody actually has the same outcome, right? It's not true. Like in our boot camps, like every other boot camp, you're going to have the straight A student and you're going to have the C or F student. Like it's just a fact of life. Like I don't expect every student to be a straight A student. Like it's not realistic. And so why would every student expect to have the same opportunities at the end? Some students are not going to be the best students. Like we're going to give them the exact same education. We're going to provide to them all the same effort, right? The same content, the same support. But you're either a C student or a straight A student, and I'm going to do our best, and the instructors are going to do our best to make you a straight A student. But at some point, it's really on you as well. It's how much really time do you commit? How much do you push yourself when you're challenged because it gets harder? How much actually is going on in your life? Like you could have the potential to be a straight A student, but there's just too much going on in your life right now, and that kind of prevents you from doing all the things you would like to do. And so there's so many things that really get you to that job and actually define your opportunity, that I really don't like when, there's a blanket statement that says, hey, job guarantee, like everyone gets a job. I think it's not realistic, and it's also dishonest in some ways, because that's, you think that everybody gets a job and actually they don't. And yet you signed on a dotted line, and now you're committed to that promise. So yeah, that's my rant about it. It's expect that it's going to take time. Expect that it's going to be dependent on you as well, not just your education or not just the boot camp. And there was another dimension to that. Like there was on the Slack channel a conversation recently where a student had a constraint. He was going to draw a 50 miles radius, and he was just going to look into that 50-mile radius because that's his constraint. And that's fair, right? I mean, whatever constraint you have, you have to deal with it and you have to handle that. But that will obviously reduce your chances and reduce your number of opportunities. And so that's also something to consider, right? And that's going to play a role. All right. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah.
A little bit of a rant. Lado, so some people do that mistake sometimes. They have a hard time spelling my name, but that's okay. So he recently finished the backend bootcamp about a month ago. Perfect. I already registered for the front end, started August. I was wondering if front end was the right path or did I need the backend? No, it's perfect. Actually, you're going to be at a great spot. By finishing the backend bootcamp, you have learned the fundamentals of programming. And so with that, you're going to apply those fundamentals pretty easily on JavaScript. And you're going to discover the front end. And you may actually decide that you like it or not. We'll see. Some people enjoy front end, some people don't. You're going to have an easier time knowing that, because some people start with front end, but they don't know anything else. So actually, they don't know if they like it or not like it. Then they get into back end and they're like, oh yeah, I definitely like front end better. Or yeah, I prefer back end. So that's going to give you an idea, are you going to like front end or not? But no matter, I think that's the right, that's a good path. You're gonna be well set to start the front end bootcamp. Okay, we have another question here. What are some tips for creating a project portfolio? So for me, first, the question is right. One project portfolio. As a hiring manager, I don't really care if you have 20 projects that are just one page long. and it's a tic-tac-toe game, and it's a blah 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 game, and it's a blah 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 like, to-do list. Like if I look at a project and it's 2 pages of code, I'm not going to be impressed because I know there's a lack of complexity behind it. So a strong project portfolio will have complexity behind it. And it's, if there's a proxy for that, it's how many pages of code do you have? Like, are you just doing, are you, for example, and the number of pages sometimes is a reflection of the data structure. So are you going to have an employee page, employee.js? Are you going to have a customer.js? Are you going to have a product.js? Are you going to have a partners.js? Like at the first glance, I can read your file structure and understand the depth of that project because I'm going to see the entities, that you're describing and the relationship between those entities. So that's one project portfolio, add depth to it. Make sure that the file structure reflects the underlying data model, I will say, and kind of give me really a good hint at a glance of the file structure at the complexity of the project. And really go deep as you can. Add more features, make it more complex, add the backend, do a Firebase or like manipulate data externally. Some people sometimes will stop at, having a local data file. I think you want to very quickly go to, engage, connecting with the data source that's a real database, either NoSQL database or a pure SQL database, but you want to really have a front end and a back end as much as possible. If you're doing a pure back end project, do something that's very heavy on code and on deployment. So, deploy an API, right? So you're going to spend, if you just backend, just build a ton of APIs, REST APIs, and then show how you can automatically deploy them on the cloud and using, Dockers and Kubernetes to deploy that infrastructure. That's going to surely impress as well. But depth is key. Don't randomize yourself. Say what?
And variety too? Or just
I think, and I think you have to create variety as you build depth in your project, right? Because handling your customers is going to be different than handling your products. And then let's say it's a shopping cart, then handling your shopping cart is going to be very different and create new needs, So it's a great question. When you're going to handle employees or customers, you're going to have to deal with authentication, right? So that's a big deal. Authentication, do it. If you're handling with product, you're going to have to handle stocks and real-time stock. And anyone who's buying something, the stock has to go down. Prices may change. Do you do coupon and discounts? That's going to be a big complexity element. And then the junction of the two, you're going to have to handle shopping cart, payments, huge complexity, very different as well from everything else. Are you going to integrate with PayPal? Are you going to integrate with Stripe? How are you going to handle payment? But each area is going to bring a huge variety in terms of what you're going to have to be faced with. Authentication, stocks, managing, SKUs, variations of SKUs for products, and then payments. How do you handle payments? So, yeah. All right. And I see Krista mentioning that she already started to apply for internships. Good for you. Yeah, that's a good point. You don't have to wait for the end of your bootcamp. You don't want to do it in the middle of it, but I think once you're on the last module, that's a good time to actually get started. You wanna take that one, Francesca?
Is the job hunting bootcamp included in the software engineering bundle? Yes, it is. So it's all our boot camps combined, and then the job hunting career services is the last boot camp that you would do. Now, if you're doing it individually, you can also, if you're not doing all the boot camps, then you can purchase it separately.
Yeah. Perfect answer. I don't have anything else to add. Adib Subania from LinkedIn, is there a difference between taking full stack alone versus backend and front end? How would you answer that one, Francesca?
Well, I know the back end does not. Well, the full stack is front end and back end, but Python is not included.
That's right.
So it's definitely a difference.
Yeah. So the full stack is really front end. So it's mostly front end. So full stack is 4 modules. 3 of them are front end. The last one is Node.js, which is a backend, but it's a different backend from what we teach in the backend bootcamp. And the backend bootcamp is not just backend; it's Python, it's SQL, and then it's 3 clouds. You're going to learn about Azure, Microsoft, Google Cloud. So big difference. Big difference between those two. All right. Any more questions from the audience? We did a good job going through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as a reminder, and I know this sounds a little bit control, but that's an important one. Anyone interested in joining the full stack bootcamp, the one that starts on the 8th, you have until Monday night, this coming Monday night, to register at the early bird price. After that, if you still want to join the August 8th bootcamp, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, like $300 more. So don't miss that deadline. That'll be silly. The good news, though, is let's say, you weren't sure, like, are you going to be available on August 8th, or are you going to be on a sand beach? You're not sure yet. If you miss August 8th, you still can register for the one on September 12th. And the early bird date for that one is much later. It's like August 29th. So the good news is if you miss one early bird rate, you always have the next one. I know sometimes some people are like, damn, but I really, really wanted to start on August 8th. Well, just you have to plan for it. That's the point. And by the way, we do that because that helps us figure out how many instructors we need. So that during that 2 weeks window, usually we don't see a huge variation in terms of number of students for August 8th. And that really gives us the time to make sure we have all the instructors that we need to teach us those classes. So that's why we have those 2 weeks. It's an incentive for us to be able to kind of manage the operations of our business. Any plan for the weekend? What are your plans, Francesca?
Work and yeah, work and a concert. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, which concert do you want to share?
It's actually, I don't know if you know, but it's Burner Boy. It's like an Afrobeat artist.
Burner Boy. No, I don't.
He's from Africa.
Should I know? Like, do I sound
He'll
loud?
be in Texas Sunday. So.
Okay, cool. That sounds fun. I mean, so the plans for me is I'm in Whidbey Island. That's it's an island in the Seattle area. It's gonna be a lot of sun. Here with my wife for the first time without the kids. We left the kids behind.
Oh,
and
wow.
So that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, the kids are like jumping up and down right now. Like the house is theirs. Back in Bellevue. That reminds me. So August is going to be heavy on holidays, including myself. I'm going to be traveling during August, so we're going to have a much lighter schedule in August for the campfire. So, for example, next week we don't have one, I think, or maybe we do. No, we don't. I don't know actually, but yeah, don't expect a campfire episode every Friday for the month of August. It's going to be quite sparse, for good reasons. We're going to take a small break. And with that, Francesca, it was a real pleasure to have you on the show again. Thank you for everything
guys
you
for
do.
the questions and
yeah, and it was great to have all those questions from the folks on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook or Meta. All right, everyone, enjoy the weekend. Take care. See ya.